Cold War Zombies has or had the most potential out of any of the Call of Duty Zombies installments. Yes, even Black Ops 3. I already know you Black Ops 3 fanboys. Look, I'm one too. But let's be honest here. Cold War's had some pretty good potential. But it's not reaching said potential. The game itself is crippling itself from its maximum potential. Black Ops Cold War has been in a state where, even though it produces content, the content itself isn't very engaging. Many players leave, very boring. Not many people are engaged with the maps, etc., etc. Starting off with the release of The Machine, many fans were excited. The new upgrade system for weapons, perks, and the brand new field upgrades. A lot of people accepted this and actually loved it. The whole new progression system where you could level up, grind, and be able to actually earn and display it in zombies, and not just have it cosmetically, but actually as a function in the game and upgrade it and make it even better. Who wouldn't like that? I mean, hell, you could even spawn in with a weapon now too and upgrade said weapon. It wasn't just perks that were upgradable. Like I said, weapons were as well. And it didn't kill the progression of the gameplay either. So a lot of people were worried about with Black Ops 4, how you spawned in with the Wraith Fire and like a Mog 12 and how it was super overpowered. It killed just progression throughout the game. And well, if you had Wraith Fires, you didn't really need any other kind of, lethal equipment. Now, Cold War Zombies was off to a great start. Everyone loved it, but pretty quickly it died down about after a month. With not too much to do, all you really had was The Machine. If you were on PlayStation, you had Onslaught. Oh wait, there's also Dead Ops Arcade, but who played that? It was good and all, don't get me wrong. I'm not one to just bash mode, but nobody really just hops into Cold War and is like, hey, let's grind Dead Ops Arcade. It didn't give you any XP, no Ethereum crystals, anything that was actually worth your while. So, not very useful. Plus, most players were actually just about done with Ethereum crystals within like the first 2 weeks, 3 weeks. I mean, literally, Black Ops 4 had 4 maps off the start. 2 of them were pretty decent. 9 was good, Classified was pretty alright. The progression system added extra stuff to do, but like I said, many people were done with grinding these within the first 2 or 3 weeks, a month at most. It didn't take too long altogether. But many players were just leaving after that. There wasn't really, like I said, much to do. I mean, by the time people were leaving, there was a little minor update around Christmas time. Call of Duty just always does something for Christmas, like alter a map or something. And well, Zombies actually got something. That mode was Jingle Hells. This brand new amazing mode does 2 things. Take away the mystery box and the Easter egg. That's it. Cold War wasn't looking too good after this. I mean, literally more and more players were leaving after this. They weren't really paying too much attention. A lot of attention was going towards Warzone, the store, constantly, all the time. A lot of people are tired of playing The Machine. After all, it is great, but realistically, the map isn't very replayable. Now, don't get me wrong. It's a pretty good map. But for a release map to technically be a remake, that's not really good. The map is, Nocturne Tone remade into another experience. Short in size. The map is actually pretty fun with friends, but it doesn't really have much of a wonder weapon, a crummy Easter egg, and not really much to do other than camp or survive. And like I said, not very replayable. This makes it unreplayable. I'm not just trying to sit here and bash the map. It's got some pretty good things, but really what I'm trying to say is it didn't live up to the expectations people had. I love Cold War, but what I really love is its system. The way the perks work, all of it, great. But the maps don't really meet the same level as, well, the systems. In Black Ops 3, you had an amazing system, amazing maps. Black Ops 4, you had some pretty alright maps, but a terrible system. This is the exact opposite of it. The Machine as a whole was a very underwhelming experience, and a lot of it is due to Treyarch and the pandemic. Look, I get a whole pandemic ruined 2020, so we can, cut them some slack on that, but it's 2021, and most employees are going back, and they're just letting, honestly, zombies die. The Machine just really wasn't cutting it for people. Sure, it was fun, but can you literally play the same map for 3.5 months? It is just something you just can't do. Maps like Black Ops 3 and even Black Ops 4, you had replayable maps. I mean, Shadows of Evil, that held people off until, well, Horizon Track. And if you did have the giant, cool, some people didn't pre-order, so, it is what it is. But Shadows of Evil, what I'm trying to say, had a lot to bring, and it actually had personality, which, let's be honest, Cold War really doesn't have all too much. Black Ops 4, I mean, some people were liking it. You know, it was pretty good on the launch. A lot of bugs, a lot of issues, people trying to, you know, grind Easter eggs, all that cool nonsense, but that's not really what it's about, right? You could actually play a game of 9 for a fairly good amount of time. I mean, you could try to play Voyage of Despair without blowing your brains out, but just all around, I feel like the start of Black Ops 4 is probably a little bit easier on us than, you know, Cold War. Cold War didn't really have too much to offer on the start, which really kind of killed it. I mean, literally just one map on launch. Usually there's at least 2. Cold War was the first one to just try to attempt with one, and in my opinion, it didn't really go off too well. I mean, you have maps like Black Ops 1, which were really simple, but, you know, people weren't all too much trying to, like, beg and grind for, like, super hard. But here's the crazy thing. The Machine tries to copy that, but it just doesn't do it very well. As you can notice, like I said, the crummy Easter egg was just something people weren't a fan of. Honestly, I would rather do the Ascension Easter egg and grind that rather than, well, the Machine. Now, I'm not basing the map solely just off of the fact of its Easter egg, but typically speaking, if a map has a good Easter egg and one that's relatively one to understand and is actually, you know, pretty decently hard, but not too hard, one that actually engages the community and is actually interesting altogether, you know, its story, like Shadows of Evil, Mob of the Dead, Call of the Dead, they actually had some pretty cool twists and not ones you really expected, but engaged the community and, well, brought, well, what we have and know as Easter eggs and maps. I mean, not even just basing it off, you know, Easter eggs, like I said, but just map gameplay in general. It has to have a unique experience, but unfortunately, you know, the Machine doesn't really have that. It's pretty sweet, simple, but it's best at that and that alone. Now, 3.5 months later, we get Firebase C, and don't even get me started on this map, this dog water of a map. Look, I'm not just trying to sit here and bash the map, but it's not even that much better. Typically speaking, when you wait that long for a map, we don't even wait that long usually for a DLC map, you're expecting some heat. Firebase C doesn't really deliver that. It's better, don't get me wrong, it's a little bit more better than D Machine, but when I mean a little bit, I mean a little bit. The map did some things well. I mean, it has a decent Easter egg, or at least one better than D Machine, an actual transportation system that isn't dog water, you know, pretty cool, and an end-game event happening around about 10 rounds, 12-ish, and introduces a mini-boss that is actually hard every 30 rounds and gets harder with each 30 rounds it progresses, so it's not just the same old plane. Multiple armor stations for a better flow, not like D Machine, you know, yada yada yada, all that nonsense. The map did good on paper, better than D Machine, but yet it still underperformed. The map also offered a wonder weapon, great at the start, nerfed literally a week later. The side Easter egg for this was awful. You couldn't maximize it. The dartboard step was so boring and awful on solo, you couldn't even do it without killing the zombie and flipping it around. An annoying mimic boss who just constantly grabs you and yanks you around, just yeet you out of the way, okay? Every time, genuinely, every time. Sort of plays like D Machine, a lot of people were expecting a different experience, and well, that's not really what we got, and that's what made it not such a popular experience. It heavily related to D Machine, and well, a lot of people didn't like that, and it felt the same. The only real difference between the two was just the endgame events in Orda. Other than that, down in the heart, the map just wasn't good enough. We did get cranked with the release of this map shortly after, but it's just zombies with the timer. I mean, anybody could just slap that on. It really didn't do much. You played it a couple times. That was really it, to be honest. Firebase C didn't do so hot, and it still doesn't. Very underwhelming and underperforming. Honestly, my least favorite map out of the whole Cold War Zombies experience. Outbreak, Outbreak, Outbreak. The brand new mode everybody wanted for so long was released. An open world zombies experience with endgame events that were sprinkled lightly. I mean, lightly. With mini bosses and vehicles. Sounds great when I'm talking about it, right? You know, picture in your head, sounds pretty good. Well, it was pretty good, but once again, wasn't enough. I don't mean to just sound ungrateful, but literally, it's fun for a couple rounds with friends, but after that, after about 6 to 10 rounds, you soon realize you're just doing the same thing exactly over and over and over and over. Too many overs to count. I literally cut myself off. Okay, that's how many overs there are. The release of Outbreak didn't have much as it has now, with about 3 maps and 3 objectives. You could see how stale this got real fast. Look, I think it's a great mode, but subjectively, this is really how it was. Just playing the same thing over and over isn't fun, and you're probably like, well, Spencer, zombies is literally the same thing over and over, right? Zombies add a lot of details and many things that add replayability, things you don't need and things you can do for fun and an extra benefit. Chaotic environments, you know, all that great stuff that makes zombies. But Outbreak does not exactly give you that. The map, all of them, really isn't filled, and often a lot of the time I'm alone and I'm looking for zombies, and they're really only near events or the side objectives, which after a while there's no real point of actually going to the side objectives because, well, you'll be fully upgraded. The game mode didn't live up to what it was expected because it got very stale very quickly. Not enough happened in the map. It's like Treyarch gave up in the front, like they shown what was cool about the mode, made trailers about it on the first couple rounds, but shortly after you realize it was just a show, sadly. And I'm not just trying to complain about this. I mean, I am pretty upset about it, but altogether, you know, Outbreak was a good mode, but it just didn't deliver in terms of just replayability. Like, some of the traditional maps you're able to just constantly play over and over because, well, it evolves, the gameplay's different, it changes, it's all good. But with Outbreak, it's very similar and just stays the same, which is very unfortunate. But we got another thing coming up, baby. It wouldn't be, you know, Treyarch and Call of Duty experience if one console didn't have something the other didn't, right? Well, Onslaught is exactly that thing on Cold War. The thing about Cold War Zombies and Onslaught is, well, Onslaught isn't all too much. It's one of those modes that, hey, it's there if you get really bored and you want to play it, but, you know, there's other things you can play, you know, like firebase or, you know, Mauer or Toten. This mode is just kind of there just for like mess around giggles. Play it a couple times. You know, isn't exactly the best thing in the world, but hey, it's there. You can take it, you can play it, or you can't. Either or, your choice. This mode doesn't bring all too much. It has wave-based, kind of like Zombies round-based, but it's waves. In this, you have bosses that appear every 2 or 3 surges. Surges increase the difficulty. The higher the surge, you know, obviously the higher the difficulty it is. The more and more you progress, the more harder it gets. Pack-a-punch isn't available unless you play a specific mode. And also, it does allow perks, but perks are dropped randomly, and they're from, you know, the bosses that you kill, like this Megaton right here. You use these and, well, you progress through. Nothing really much to do. If you're on Xbox or PC, you're really not missing all too much. It's not, you know, a groundbreaking mode or anything like that. You know, it's not Modern Warfare 2 survival, anything like that. It's just a kind of bland mode. It's alright, you know. Very, very forgettable. One of these things I will probably not remember from a year's time, like, oh wow, Onslaught was a thing. I totally forgot about that. I never want to play that again. Cold War Zombies hit a pretty hard rock bottom, but nowhere else to go up, right? Mauer Toten is that up. Cold War Zombies introduced this banger on July 15th, the Wall of the Dead. It was released, and it was a banger. The map came with tons of stuff to do, very replayable, and all around just great. You have a very accessible map. It flows so nicely. A cool Easter egg, a great wonder weapon with actual personality, and you can understand what's going on with the story. But, you know, this isn't a review about Mauer Toten. Overall, the map was received well and is regarded as the best Cold War map as of the recording. We waited nearly 5 months for this map. It had pretty high expectations, and it delivered, at least in my opinion. In some others, it didn't, which is completely understandable. It's a good map, but I would say out of all the good maps in the whole Call of Duty Zombies installments, it'd be towards the lower end. I love this map. It's just if I had a choice between the other ones, it wouldn't be my first choice, I would say. I wouldn't say it flopped as a map, but it did reach expectations pretty decently, fairly I would say. Cold War Zombies all around just has been given the love and personality it needs to grow. And those basically 2 ingredients right there are what are needed for a Call of Duty Zombies experience and what makes it so great. The whole experience just couldn't hold itself together, and it really hurts to say, but the game is dying. And it could have been one of the best, but it just didn't live up to that. a lot of people just thought the same thing over and over. It's exactly like that. A lot of people don't really see it all too much, or you see it all too much. There's really no in between, and well, this game just didn't live it up. No personality, no real flavor. It's kind of sad. Cold War had all the potential in the world, and it just didn't yield it and use it really at all. There's so many great things about this game, and yet it just didn't really, I don't know, just didn't really click. Too many things went to too many different areas, not really good maps, nothing like that. But if you haven't already, leave a like, subscribe, all that cool nonsense really helps out. I'll see you guys next one. Have a wonderful day. See ya.